Governor J.B. Pritzker will testify on Capitol Hill next month over sanctuary state policies. The House Oversight Committee announcing Governor Pritzker, along with the governors of New York and Minnesota, will appear before the panel on June 12th.
Well, here we go. It turns out the Trump administration is absolutely not messing around when it comes to sanctuary cities or sanctuary states, because your three favorite governors have just been summoned to speak in front of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. Of course, we're talking about the governor of Minnesota, the governor of Illinois, and of course, the governor of New York.
The governor's spokesperson says he's evaluating whether or not to accept that invitation to testify alongside the governors of New York and Minnesota. That request comes as President Trump repeats his threat to punish sanctuary jurisdictions.
More than a month after Mayor Brandon Johnson was grilled on Capitol Hill, Governor J.B. Pritzker could be next in line. In a letter, the Republican House Oversight Committee chair requesting documents and communications related to Illinois' sanctuary policies and inviting Pritzker to testify at a May 15th hearing.
Now, just so you are aware, so you can have an educated opinion, this all has to do with an investigation that started back in January of 2025. This had to do with the policies of sanctuary jurisdictions and their impact on public safety and federal immigration enforcement because of things like this.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes, local control.
You need to reverse your policies on sanctuary cities.
But Illinois GOP Congressman Darren LaHood, who questioned Mayor Johnson at his hearing, said Governor Pritzker continues to prioritize the needs of illegal immigrants rather than his own citizens.
Now, get ready for this. You're about to hear the New York Police Department chief, the top police officer in New York, talk about why this is all very problematic.
Our sanctuary city laws are there. We cannot enforce civil enforcement. We can't. We work with our federal partners every day for criminal investigations, and when that takes place, that can take its course. But as far as the civil deportation, we are not allowed by law. We cannot. Under no circumstances are we allowed.
Now, if you think that's bad when it comes to sanctuary policies, this is a worst case scenario, and this is how bad a sanctuary policy can impact local law enforcement.
The Rochester Police Department is under a lot of scrutiny because they got an officer assist call from ICE, and they showed up for the call. This is what their union is saying, Tom. Let's watch it.
Our policy is also to back up other officers who need help. We report on this all the time about an officer killed during a traffic stop. It is one of the most dangerous times for an officer to have. You have a vehicle that the occupants are refusing to get out. It was a van. Turns out there was 8 people in that van, and our officers did an excellent job of de-escalating that situation.
Now remember, the entire point of this whole investigation is to see whether or not sanctuary policies affect the safety of American citizens. And when you have a police department being yelled at for helping an ICE officer whose life might be on the line, you tell me whether or not that directly impacts American safety.
New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. As you know, we sued Illinois, and New York didn't listen. So now you're next. Millions of illegal aliens with violent records have flooded into our communities, bringing violence and deadly drugs with them.
Now, we will get back to New York and Illinois, but when you focus on Minnesota and Tim Walz's sanctuary policies, you know he really slides under the radar when it comes to the safety of Americans. This is because a lot of his policies are really social issues.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
Now, in this land of the free and home of the brave, we have university students being swept up, shoved into unmarked vans, and fathers being tossed into Salvadorian gulags without a hint of due process. So I want to be real clear about this. If you say you love freedom, but you don't believe freedom is for everybody, then the thing you love isn't freedom, it's privilege.
Now, here's what's very interesting about Minnesota. The state of Minnesota itself is not a sanctuary state. So you do have law enforcement agencies working with ICE. Whether it's with deportations, whether it's with identification, they can help out ICE. But you do have cities like Minneapolis, which they do limit cooperation with ICE agents. But either way, Tim Walz, he was still summoned to go talk in front of Congress.
Mayor Johnson, in the last 4 years, how much has Chicago spent on care for illegal aliens?
So since 2022, since the governor of Texas began shipping...
Just tell me a number. I don't need a speech. Just tell me a number.
So since 2022, since the governor of Texas was shipping individuals to cities across this country, the city's budget, roughly 1% of the city's budget over the course of 4 years.
Now, that is the Chicago mayor, and that was about $574 million spent on illegal immigrants. One thing you'll notice about the state of Illinois, they have a lot of beef with Texas when it comes to sanctuary policies.
Not enough has been done. There's no doubt about that. And I think that the president needs to do more. The Congress needs to do more. Cities out here that are the target of this political game that Governor Abbott is playing are suffering. And here in Illinois, it's minus 29 degrees outside with the wind chill. We have migrants that arrive from Texas virtually every day, hundreds, and we don't have places to put them. We don't have enough shelter space here. There are plenty of other cities where, you know, if he's going to send people, they could be sent. But no, he's choosing only Democratic states, Democratic cities.
Now, I do want to point out, there's no law when it comes to sanctuary cities that nobody is welcomed. You're allowed to come in. That's the point of a sanctuary city. However, when it comes to the state of Illinois, they are actually being sued by the Trump administration already when it comes to sanctuary policies.
Mayor Adams, same question. How much has New York spent to care for illegal aliens?
Approximately $6.9 billion went out of our taxpayers' funds.
Mayor Wood.
Now, that was the mayor of New York City. Out of every single city in the United States and state, New York and New York City might be in the biggest trouble when it comes to sanctuary policies.
Your administration right now is being sued by the New York City City Council for allowing an ICE center at Rikers Island, for allowing ICE agents to be at Rikers Island. Tell me about what the goal was with allowing ICE there at Rikers, what your hope was from that, and why do you think the City Council is so upset about this?
One of the big mistakes that's being made in some parts of the far left philosophy is that ICE is a criminal organization. They are not. They are part of our law enforcement community. FBI, HSI, Postal Service investigators, they're part of our law enforcement community. We have to get bad, dangerous people off our street. I continue that today of collaborating with our city, state, and federal agencies to go after dangerous people.
Look, there's no way to get around it. The governor of New York is probably going to have the toughest time when it comes to explaining herself and sanctuary policies, especially when you have the mayor of New York even saying, we have a criminal problem and we need to work with ICE. If not, this could impact the safety of Americans, which is what the whole point of this investigation is all about.
You know, you got Governor Hochul who stood on national TV after NYPD officers were assaulted, saying she thinks criminal aliens should be deported. She said the same thing after a young woman was burned alive on a subway by an illegal alien. So she says, yeah, criminal aliens should be deported. However, when Mayor Adams meets with me and wants to help us arrest criminal aliens, get us back on Rikers Island, she goes down there and tries to fire them. She's got the green light law where ICE officers and CBP officers can't get DMV data. When they pull a car over here, they don't even know who they are because they can't get data from DMV because she locked them out. And if she says they need a warrant to get that data, and if they get the warrant to get that data, what's New York do? They notify the bad guy that we're investigating him. So I'm up here calling her out for sanctuary policies.
And we just saw a very recent case where cops were attacked. And again, remember, if ICE agents were to work with those cops, what's going to happen to them like we saw up in Rochester?
These people are in the country illegally, and the first thing the police commissioner did up there, she's ordered an internal affairs investigation. on it. Did someone call ICE? Because we happen to be at the precinct where some of these people were being processed by happenstance, but all of a sudden now there's a internal affairs investigation. Who called ICE? These people are legal in the country. We just proved to the commissioner, we proved to the city council that wants to lock us out of Rikers Island, that working with Mayor Adams, we just got done 2 weeks ago, indicted 27 members of TDA through a RICO investigation. 21 are currently in custody. We're looking for 6. These are people who are murder for hire, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, gun trafficking. We took 27 TDA off the street. ICE with the cooperation of NYPD. We showed what our partnership can do, and they're already pulling back now because the commissioner is more concerned about who called ICE than working with ICE to get these people not off the street, out of the country. And like I say, the city council, the same day, we're up there bragging about 27 TDA taking off the street, making New York safer. They sued Mayor Adams to keep us out of Rikers Island. So I'll be going to New York tomorrow. This is just another example of sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE. And look what happened. NYPD officers are attacked. If you're brazen enough to attack an armed law enforcement officer, you're much more dangerous to an unarmed civilian.
Now, I do want to point out, these are the most extreme examples, but it doesn't matter if it gets as violent as you see in New York City. Even if it's just a regular old traffic stop and a police officer needs some help, and there are ICE agents in the area who do have jurisdiction and the training to help you out, local law enforcement in New York, they cannot request the help, they cannot get the help, even though it could escalate to the next violent scenario. It doesn't matter. That cop's job, or the sheriff or the state trooper, their job could be on the line just for asking for help.
Governors from New York, Illinois, Minnesota have to explain why their states get to set immigration laws to suit themselves, but are still entitled to your money. So much for the supremacy clause. I can't wait to hear how the federal government must keep sending money to help states violate federal law. And, oh, by the way, protect criminal aliens at your expense. James Comer will chair that hearing, and he joins us now. Welcome, Mr. Chairman. I did not realize, I feel so dumb, I did not realize the left believed in states' rights. When did that happen?
You know, they just blow with the wind, Trey. As you know, they are not consistent in their ideology. The 3 clips you showed there of those 3 Democrat governors, that's evidence that they're sanctuary states. And the definition of a sanctuary state is a state that wants to defy federal law with respect to immigration policies.
Now, as you can see, a lot of this does have to do with money. That is what the Trump administration is suing these states for. You're not going to get money if you are not in compliance with federal law. And I'm going to show you a clip of what happens when you don't get any federal funds.
This all comes the same day President Trump took to social media to say he's working on withholding all federal funding for sanctuary cities and states. For Chicago, that could amount to $3.5 billion just this year. One Chicago daycare operator says many of his families rely on subsidies from federal grants.
And it allows that family, that mom, that dad, to drop a child off in an environment where it's safe and healthy and they can go to work.
The city, which is already strapped for cash, has vowed a legal challenge to any attempt to withhold funding.
So there you go. With every social policy, there also comes a money policy, as we always see throughout the entire political spectrum of America, to include Republicans as well, and some of those independents. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate all of the support. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. God bless, and we'll see you all later.